Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be examining some of the patch notes for League of Legends patch 6.22, the preseason patch. So I'm just going to go through some of these notes, just offer some of my thoughts on which changes will be the most impactful, which ones you should really watch out for, and which ones may not have as much of an effect. I also kind of broke down how I think the meta might change a little bit based on some of these, and we'll go over that kind of at the end, and I'm going to be talking about it as we go through it. There's a ton of changes, so it's super difficult to predict how this many changes will alter the meta, but I'm going to do the best that I can. And I will release a video once I get to play on the patch, and I will be playing it a lot. I'll be streaming it. I'll be releasing VODs. You'll have all kinds of content for it. And once I get kind of a better feel for how the meta is shaping up and try out some of the new items and, you know, try out some of the new matchups with champions that might be coming back into the fold, then I'll release a more updated tier list specifically for supports. And maybe if people are interested, I could also just give like a top 2 of every position that I think, in addition to like a top 5 for the supports. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So the big marquee thing that's going on for the preseason is assassin updates. So there's a bunch of them getting updated here. I'm just going to go over which ones I think will be the most impactful. Some of the other ones are, we'll see. I don't think they're going to be as impactful. Let's just go through some of these. I do think it's going to shift to an assassin meta because a couple of these are going to be extremely strong and dominate the meta at their position probably. And so I do think that will shift from right now where it's difficult to say. It's kind of a mixed bag. But assassins aren't too powerful right now. I feel like it's kind of these mid-game fighter type of champions that are really dominating right now. Like you've got Riven, Irelia, and things like that. Elise, and that means that, well, we'll talk about what that means here in a second, but that means that Jinx and Jhin can thrive right now because there's not a lot of assassins. That's going to change after this patch, I think. But let's look at some of these assassins and which ones are going to be powerful. Okay, so first up, Talon. I think this is going to be better. This is so many different shifts to his kit that it's really difficult to tell. Some of the things that stand out to me are Noxian Diplomacy. If you're already in close range, it can crit, which is pretty huge. So you get an extra 150% damage on all of this, and I feel like that's going to be a really big hit. So if you initiate with your Shadow Assault ultimate, run in close, and then Q them after you attack them, I don't think it's an auto attack with a reset anymore. It never was an auto attack to begin with, but I don't think it's an auto attack with a reset. So you'd have to go in, attack them, and then use this Q, and I feel like that's going to be massive burst damage. Now the Rake is slower because it takes 0.8 seconds before it comes back. So it's not, they're going to have a lot more time to jump out of things when you do that. Now being able to jump over a bunch of walls is super cool. I've seen this on some of the YouTube things. Basically it's on a 2-second cooldown. He can keep jumping over walls. I think the effectiveness of this is going to be how big of an area they consider like a chunk of terrain. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let me pull up a map here really quick. Okay, so it says that you can't go over the same map or the same part of the map with a very long cooldown, right? So it's 160 seconds at rank 1. You can't go over the same kind of map. So it gets outlined in red. Well, it depends how they're classifying different chunks of map, right? So for instance, if you jump over this blue wall, does that count this entire piece of terrain as marked red? Or can you jump over it this way and then potentially jump over it this way again? So if it counts entire pieces of terrain, that might not be as good. So for instance, if you jump over one piece here, does that mark the entire thing as red? Or the dragon pit, does that mark all of this stuff as red? I'm not really sure. So I think the most impactful will be around the buffs, around this blue buff. Does that entire thing get chunked? And the red buff, does that get chunked? Because obviously a really cool thing that you could do potentially is, you know, jump over here, steal blue buff, and then jump back over. If you jump over right here, let's say, then you could jump back over right here and then run back away. That would be a really cool thing. Or with red buff, for example, could you jump over, kill somebody, steal the red buff, and then jump back over here and go make a gank top lane? Or something like that. Or could you jump over the Baron Pit here and then jump over it again over here and just kind of cross it that way? So I'm not really sure. I'll have to play test it and see. I'm not going to play test it myself. I don't play Assassins that much, but I'll just have to see how other people do it and what that means. But potentially very powerful. Very cool, if nothing else. And the fact that he gets to go invisible, which is really strong. We'll talk about the stealth mechanics here in a second. They're changing and what that means, but he can't get spotted anymore by pink wards. That's really good when he's initiating. And it looks like his blades get redirected to the target of his first attack. So does that mean every single blade, and there's way more blades, actually do damage? It says damage per strike, but it doesn't tell me how many blades they are. It just says there's way more. So, I mean, if we're talking like 160 times like 10 or something, that's just absurd damage. If they all like automatically go onto the person that you attack, there's no way to dodge it or get away from it. That's obviously going to be absurdly powerful, and he's going to have to be banned and nerfed like immediately. So if that's the case, he's ridiculously overpowered. But you know, if it does less damage than I think that's indicating, then he may not be as powerful. But either way, I think he's someone to watch out for, someone to consider. I think he'll be pretty strong because he got an update to mobility. This critical strike on his Q looks really powerful, and this ultimate just looks absurd if all the blades actually 100% hit the person a second time after they go out the first time. So I feel like that's going to be really big. Okay, let's move on to another one. So Talon, powerful. I think he's going to see a lot of play. I think he's going to be good. Okay, Katarina. Katarina's a mixed bag. I think she's going to be extremely high skill capped with this new dagger mechanic. So basically, whenever she hits things with her abilities, then it drops daggers around the person. And if you walk over the dagger, then it does like a little spin thing where it hurts everybody for a set amount per dagger. So, you know, if you Q somebody and then prep, you know, throw a... you know, or I guess what you would do is probably prep, throw a W on him, Q him, Shunpo over to him, and then pick up some daggers and Death Lotus or something like that. I don't know. It looks really, really complicated to do correctly, but it looks like the damage would be absolutely through the roof if you do it, especially in team fights. So I think she's going to be like an extremely high skill cap if you're very, very good at learning this dagger mechanic and moving around. I think she's going to be extremely powerful. What is it? One of these... It's like if you grab a dagger, it resets it or something. I don't remember if it was Shunpo or not. Okay, it resets an auto attack. So once again, that's a difficult mechanic for a lot of people to do. You can auto attack and then Shunpo and get another auto attack in there. Auto attack resets are usually only utilized by very high level players. Okay, and you can actually jump to daggers instead of just players. So some people have said, oh, well, she can't jump to wards anymore. It's like, yeah, but she can like prep, throw a W over a wall, and then Shunpo to it if she wants to. So she still has the ability to jump around things like that. She just can't jump to wards, but instead she can jump to something that's on a 12-second cooldown instead of having to waste a ward on it. So I think the W plus Shunpo is going to be a decent replacement for ward jumping. Maybe I'm just totally making that up. Oh, here it is. Yes. So, okay, so if you walk over a dagger or target it with Shunpo, then it gives you Shunpo's cooldown by 78%. So that's pretty huge. You can keep jumping around to different daggers. And if you Shunpo to a dagger, it hits the nearest target. Strikes the nearest enemy. So you can target daggers and it will strike the nearest enemy. So just because you're Shunpoing to a dagger, it doesn't mean you're sacrificing any of the damage off of your Shunpo. You're still going to hit him. So theoretically, you can keep Shunpoing to a bunch of different daggers around this person and just like jump around in circles around him. You know, you can get up to a 96% cooldown on it. Oh, that's based on level. Okay, so that's based on level, not based on the ranks that you put in here. But in theory, you could keep jumping around, Shunpoing, and resetting a ton of your cooldowns. Doesn't it, like, if you kill somebody, it resets the cooldown still a lot? I don't know. Extremely complicated now with the daggers and the new Shunpo mechanics. It's going to be really, really powerful that people that put in over 100 games on Katarina can master. So I think she'll be really, really good for very, very good players at her. I would not recommend playing her. I would say at least Platinum or higher. I mean, maybe you could do it lower, but she looks very, very difficult to play. Like, it would take a lot of practice. I mean, you can do it at lower elos, but you better be ready. Like, you better understand how to do auto attack resets and, you know, like timing, thinking very far ahead about when you're going to use your prep, which daggers you're going to jump to, all this stuff. It's, I mean, she might have just become the highest skill cap champion in the game. That's not an exaggeration. That just might be the case. She may have surpassed Elise in terms of skill cap. Because she is through the roof. It's going to be really fun to watch people like Faker to try to play her if she becomes actually tournament viable, which she might. She very well might. Because if you do all this correctly, it looks like a ton of damage. So very good, but you probably won't see her a lot, at least in a successful way, because it's extremely hard to play. Leblanc is, I don't know. She got a lot of stuff changed as well. It's super hard to try to guess all this stuff because I don't play mid lane a lot. I'm just kind of just reading it and just kind of interpreting and thinking like, okay, these different matchups, how will this work? A bunch of changes. I think they delayed her stuff, was kind of a big deal. So she gets her mark passively, which has the nice ratio on it. But they kind of nerfed some of the... Well, they buffed her mana cost. They buffed her ratio. That's definitely a buff. Has a 0.25 second delay before returning to her original position when you cast Distortion. Okay, so that gives people a chance to actually hit her with stuff. That's bad. Lowered the ability power ratio here. Raised the cooldown. I don't know. She's okay. She's okay. I don't think it's going to make it... She's not going to make a huge splash. I mean, she might. She's okay. I don't think she's one of the best ones, but she's okay. So I think that Talon and Katarina will be more impactful, especially Talon. He's a lower skill cap. Katarina for the big timers. Rengar, I feel like this is a nerf to Rengar. The trophies is whatever. You know, you get a bunch of trophies, you do some extra damage. This is the big deal, I feel like, is a Q, and I'm obviously not a Rengar main, so there will be other YouTubers that have more to say about this probably, but... I feel like because it doesn't reset auto attacks anymore, and I think it has a very like small like cast animation, it's gonna make it harder for him to just show up and like do his combo and just zero people out immediately. They're gonna have a bit more time to counterplay it, I think. You only have to stack up to 4 ferocity though instead of 5, which is nice to get your bonuses. So that's definitely a thing. Healing himself for 50% of the damage he took in the last second and a half is pretty huge. Like, it's basically like a little mini Echo ult, like it explains here. Except it's on a whatever cooldown, a 12-second cooldown. So I mean, you might see something like a tank or bruiser type of Rengar instead of an assassin type with this battle roar. I don't know. That's a lot of healing. So, I mean, maybe he can get in there and just, like, consistently do a lot of damage. Maybe he's going to be, like, the next kind of bruiser, echo, you know, type of build here. Lowered cooldown on this. It lasts a lot longer. A lot longer. So, yeah, I mean, you can run across the whole map with that thing. So that's actually really good for rotations, potentially, to catch people out. You can get there really quickly. Okay, but the cooldown begins when Throw of the Hunt ends. Okay, so not on cast. So that's just kind of the makeup call here with this. So the cooldown's going to be roughly the same. It's going to be higher at level 70 or at level 16. Okay, that's a huge boost in speed. So once again, it looks like you can rotate and run across the map and catch people out because you're going to be able to be stealth for a very long time. After stealth, what? Oh, okay, after your stealth is done. I don't know. This is once again, it's a million different changes. It's difficult to tell, but I think this is going to hurt like all-in massive AD assassin Rengar, but it could actually create the foundation for a tanky bruiser type of Rengar that can still deal a lot of damage with maybe some of these new AD tank type of items. that we'll talk about here in a little bit. I don't know. The jury's out. I think it's going to create a different kind of playstyle, and it's difficult to predict what that's going to be. Because there's like some new masteries and some new items and things that also help you if you go into bushes a lot. So it's difficult to say, but I think this is going to hurt his all-in, like 1 second or less spike damage, but it's going to help him, give him a lot more sustainability in longer fights. Because of that new savagery healing is just crazy. That's so much extra healing. Okay, Fizz, this is the big story. This is what I'm taking away from the Assassins. I'm calling it right now. Fizz is the big deal. Like, he didn't get a lot of screenplay. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about Fizz. I think he's going to get the biggest buff out of this. Now, we'll see if I'm right about this, but I feel like he is. I feel like it's either going to be Talon or Fizz are going to kind of be the biggest sort of things that people are talking about, things that you're seeing all the time. Maybe Katarina, but I just think people aren't going to be good enough at most elos to really maximize her potential. But Fizz, okay. So the big deal about Fizz, yeah, they changed some of this. That did help his mana cost a lot. They changed the cooldown. So they lowered the cooldown at lower levels so he can trade better in lane. Apparently there was some kind of bug with Sheen. That's a really important item on him. So that's good. They fixed that bug. This is the big deal. Seastone Trident. So they changed a lot of stuff here. It's a lot of text. It's a lot to follow. But the big thing that you need to know is if they've bled for 2 seconds, which is what your passive does. If you attack somebody with a normal attack or your Q or anything, then they're going to bleed. So you just wait 2 seconds. Then after that, you get a triple damage attack that has a 1.0 ability power ratio and is an auto attack reset. Holy crap. That's so much burst. That is so much burst. I mean, so basically his W now, because what it used to do is give you a little bit of extra auto attack damage, but realistically Fizz is not going to sit there and auto attack people a lot in a fight, right? Like he might a little bit, but you know, when he's doing his best work is when he goes in and tries to zero people out, right? Like kill them in 1 second or less, and then run away. So he's not the type of champion, unless it was Bruiser Fizz, which was popular for a while earlier in the season, but he's not really built to sit there and auto attack. He needs to run away and wait on his cooldowns to come back. So this helps that style of gameplay. So now you get an extra 255 burst damage. Let's say you have 200 ability power, which is not that hard to get as Fizz in the mid game. 200 ability power. Now you're hitting him for 455 and you're resetting your auto attack, which is going to be an extra, you know, whatever, 100 damage because it's going to add on this extra overtime damage, I think. No, they got rid of the on hit, and this is just the bleed. Either way, it's like an extra 500 damage to your all-in potential. After you, now you can't do it immediately. They have to bleed a little bit first. But you know, once you attack them and cause them to bleed, you just wait those 2 seconds. So I think, you know, a combo could be go in with Urchin Strike, Q, get them ticket on the bleed, use your E, go up, dodge whatever attack they have, land on them. They're already going to have been bleeding for 2 seconds, auto attack them, auto attack reset them with the Trident Scythe Stone or whatever, hit them with the Chum the Rotters, run away, boom, dead, 1500 damage or something like that. So, you know, I think that good Fizzes will definitely leverage this auto attack reset, and it's going to be a really, really big deal. I think Fizz is going to be, it's either Fizz or Talon are going to be the best assassins. Also, yeah, and if you actually kill something, if you kill a unit, then you get the reset on it. So if you kill somebody, you get to reset that cooldown on it, which could be pretty good. So then you can just jump around and, you know, do even more E stuff and, you know, completely just wipe people out with it. Now, his I like what they're doing with his R. It's pretty cool. So they're not nerfing it. They, you know, it's got a 2 second delay, so that gives people a longer time to realize they need to hit their Zhonya's and stuff like that. But if you hit it from further away, it does a lot of damage. So now you can actually try to initiate with Chum the Water. And if you do, you're rewarded for it because it's really gonna like destroy people if you hit them with it. I mean, we're talking 500 damage plus a 1.2 ratio at long range. So it's not so much extra damage that it's not even worth hitting them with it close range anymore. I'm not sure what it used to be. Let me see really quick with Fizz here. Let me see how much of a nerf this is to his ult. Because I didn't consider that when I was making this prediction. So let me see what it used to be. Okay, so it used to be 450. with a 100% ratio. So now they're changing it to, at close range, it's only 350. Okay, so that's a nerf to kind of the all-in, you're automatically going to hit them damage. But I still think that's offset by the W. Like that W reset and power spike hit is just more than makes up for this slight nerf. So I think you can still all in and hit him point blank with the shark and kill him most of the time. Now it only has a 0.6 ability power ratio instead of a 1.0, which is a big deal. I mean, it's a hurt. It's definitely a hit to all in Fizz, but I still think this other stuff is going to more than make up for it if you want to go for the all in point blank boom Fizz. But it does reward you a little bit if you go bigger. So 425. So if you throw it, now what's the radius on it? That's important too. Let me just look really quick. 250. I think that's what that means. So he can throw it up to almost 1300, and it's got a 250 radius. Okay, so the radius 200, 325. Okay, so if you hit him kind of with a mid-range shark, then it's 325. So that's 50% more radius. So if you start a fight with it, it's much more likely that you're going to hit a bunch of people and spread this damage to a lot more people. And then, of course, if you hit him with the massive one, it goes to 450 range, which is huge and does a lot of bonus damage. So I don't think a lot of people are going to hit the massive one, but if you do hit the massive one, it's really sweet. It's really rewarding. I'm not sure about that knockback either. I'm not sure which direction it knocks him back into. Either it knocks him into you or it knocks away from you. I don't know. This is difficult to figure out, but I think it's still similar damage. It's better if you can hit him from long range and initiate with it. So you can use it as an initiation tool for your team a little bit more reliably now. Looks like it doesn't get stuck in terrain anymore either. So you can throw it through walls a little bit easier, I guess. I don't know. Either way, really strong. Stay tuned for Fizz. He's going to be good. Kha'Zix, it's difficult to say. I feel this is a nerf. I feel this is a nerf to Kha'Zix. And the thing is Q timer is raised by, 1 second may not sound like a lot, but if you're going from 3 seconds to 1 second, that's a third more time. That's a really big deal if you look at it from a percentage basis. And bonus damage to isolated targets is only 50%. So that's good. That's an increase. But one of the first things you would evolve, I'm pretty sure, is your Q, because you got like a massive increase. I don't remember what it was. Let me just look again here. I feel like it was just like through the roof damage, right? Yeah, 140% bonus AD. You got 50 bonus range. And so if you isolated them, it was just like almost one-shot territory. That was kind of the beauty of Kha'Zix. You isolate people and you destroy them. Now you get a slight refund. Who cares? Like, you're trying to zero people out. Like, you're not trying to fight a sustained fight with Kha'Zix most of the time. Unless he becomes Bruiser Kha'Zix too. But they haven't changed anything that would indicate that that's going to be a new thing. He doesn't have like the Rengar change. So I think this sucks now. I think this is just not going to be nearly as good. Like, it's good if you don't evolve it. I guess that would let you evolve your jump earlier so that you can get more resets, but I think this is a really big deal. Now, slowing isolated targets is cool. I think that's even if you don't evolve it. Void Assault is okay. I mean, they can't see you anymore, which is nice with invisibility when you're running around, so that's definitely a buff. I just feel like he's not going to be as much of a big player because that's just such a massive hit to his burst. So we'll go ahead and move on. Akali, I thought Akali was going to be super good until I read this right here. Boom. They literally cut the damage on her ult in half. 50% damage. And they didn't give her any extra damage as far as I can tell anywhere else, really. Healing ratio. A few seconds after her first attack has resets. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, they gave her a little bit of dinky extra damage here and there. It's not enough. It's not enough. Her whole identity is this right here. Because they not only nerfed its base damage, they nerfed its scaling by 50% too. So now she has like virtually no scaling on her R. I mean, the invisibility thing is going to be really good, and that's why I thought she was going to be super strong, because people can't see her anymore with wards, which we'll talk about here in a second. But I just think this is the nail in the coffin. This is just way too bad. She's just not going to deal any damage with her ults anymore. Like, yeah, having damage on the E is fine, but you don't rank up the E. Like, you max your Q first, and so you're not even going to get max damage here until, like, level 13 or so. It's not going to be good. Zed, I think, also got a huge nerf. So his whole thing, his big thing is with your W. I don't know. I don't know how people level up Zed, first of all. So maybe I'm totally way off on this. But I feel like dropping off this free plus 20% bonus attack damage. It is bonus. It's not base attack damage, I guess. But I felt like this was a really big deal, getting rid of that. You do get some extra energy on multi-hits. Slash on cooldown is down, and the damage is down. The R mark is interesting. I mean, if you kill an AD carry that's really fed, and that's based on their total attack damage, so maybe that is worth it. Maybe that is a good trade-off. So they took the damage away from your W, which you probably aren't leveling anyways, and they put it on your mark. Okay, maybe it's neutral slash moderate buff for Zed. We'll see. Zed has a hard time against Fizz, though, because Fizz can E out of his ult. So just keep in mind, if Fizz becomes really popular, like I think he is, that's going to be an indirect buff, or an indirect nerf to Zed. So we'll see. He also takes longer to do his full combo. Talon might be able to kill him, although Zed can also dodge Fizz's ult, and he can dodge Talon's ult. So it's going to be a lot of skill matchups. I don't know. I guess it's probably moderate buff, now that I think about it a little bit more. If you kill the AD carry, and you get a lot of extra AD, so you don't have to max your W. If that was even a thing in the first place. Okay, Echo. I think this is huge that he doesn't slow with his passive anymore. I feel like that's really, really bad. Because I was thinking Tank Echo might come back in. He does get more heal with more AP. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a significant change to Echo. Either way, I think if anything, it's going to be bad because he doesn't have the slow. So he's either worse or neutral. All right, Shaco. This is really weird. I don't think this is going to matter with Shaco. I've seen Red Mercy. He has a video on AP Shaco top. I wasn't super impressed with that. He was talking about how good it's going to be. They did buff him a lot, so we'll see. They buffed AP Shaco a lot. So they gave him lower cooldown. They lowered his mana cost. Why the heck was it 90 mana at level 1 to begin with? I don't know. But anyways, they made it a lot more reasonable here. They lowered the cooldown. Stealth duration. Starts off much less, though. So that's a big deal. I mean, these are buffs, but this is a pretty big nerf. I don't know what you max on Shaco. I would imagine it would be 2 Shyv. Is what people had done before, but on AP Shaco, but only a second and a half is not that much. So you have to level it up 4 times before you have a similar amount of stealth. Okay, blah, blah, blah. A little bit of extra damage. You can place Jack in the box, but they know where you are, which kind of defeats the whole purpose. Deals less damage to turrets, so you can't take turrets quickly with it. Faster arm time. 2 Shyv poison. Has a huge ratio. 90 ability power is pretty big. But what? That's a huge nerf. What? Goes from 210 to 125? Oh, it deals missing health. Okay, so you can use it as an execute, but it's not nearly as good as kind of a poke if you wanted to try to lane this or open with it. So it's a huge nerf. It's like a 50% nerf. Oh, thanks, dear. Okay. My wife brought me some tater tots. That's not good. This is okay. I don't know. I don't think Shaco's gonna make any big splash. We'll see. I could be wrong about that, but I'm not gonna waste a lot of time on it. There's some buffs, there's some nerfs. I think there's just better options out there. Okay, let's talk about some more stuff that's going on here. All right, so, because I know this video is going to be like an hour. There's just no way around it. There's a million different changes here. But I think most people on my channel don't mind videos that are that long because I do that all the time, right? I give really in-depth insight, and the trade-off is the video lasts longer. So, and I'll try to put some timestamps in here too, so people can jump around. Okay, the stealth mechanics, the camouflage. So basically, pink wards can only see camouflage things now. So they can see Evelyn, they can see Rengar, and they can see Twitch. And that's it. They can't see invisibility anymore. So they can't see Akali, they can't see Kha'Zix, can't see LeBlanc, Shaco, Talon, Teemo, Vayne, or Wukong. The only situations where I think this is going to show up a lot and could be a problem is probably Talon is definitely a big deal. Vayne is a big deal. So this is an indirect buff to Vayne. As much as I hate to say it, I still don't think she's going to be that great unless big tanks come back into the meta, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. Wukong's decoy is okay, but by the time he goes invisible, he's pretty much already on you. Like, you can drop a pink, but oftentimes it's going to be late. So yes, I don't think this is going to be too big of a deal. It is a big deal when you're fighting against a Vayne to not be able to have a pink, and it's a big deal against Talon Shadow. Could potentially be a big deal against Kha'Zix if he's not going to be as bad as I think he's going to be. This other stuff is manageable. Akali is just... I don't think she's going to be that great. So, it's not a huge deal. It's okay. It's okay. You're still going to want to bring pinks against Rengar, Twitch, and Evelyn. And these are all still going to be viable. So you still want to make sure that you have lots of these control wards is what they call them now instead of pinks. But it's very similar. Okay, so speaking of which, let's go over the control wards. Alright, so I'm going to have to see this in action. I've tried to find some videos. I couldn't find any reliable videos about this. Exactly how this works. But there's a couple of different things this could imply. So one thing is... First of all, like I said, it doesn't see invisible stuff, so you can't drop it to see Vayne anymore. You can't drop it to see Talon. So that's kind of the biggest thing that people were talking about. But the other big thing is it says it shuts off vision from green wards. And there's a bunch of stipulations with that. So my question is, if someone drops a pink ward or drops a green ward in a bush as a control ward in it, do they just straight up not see anything? They just see an X on their ward or something, and that's it. Or do they get a really quick flash, like maybe a quarter of a second or a half a second of vision, and then it goes dark? I'm not sure. If it's blackout immediately and you can't see in the bush at all, this is going to be extremely game-changing. This is a very, very big deal. It's going to mean that dangerous supports are just going to get completely crapped on by these assassins. However, if you can see a little bit in the bush for like a quarter of a second just to see if anyone's in it, and then it goes blackout, it's still going to be more powerful, but at the same time, it's not going to be as impactful. So I'm just going to have to wait to see if it's immediate blackout or if you still get like a quarter of a second of vision just to see if anyone's in the bush. Now, control wards are visible. Now, they can see the control ward itself that is disabling your ward, but I'm not sure if they get extra vision around that control ward or not. So do they, like, let's say that a champion is standing directly on that control ward, an enemy champion. Like, will they see the enemy champion or will they only see the control ward? I'm going to have to test this out to see. Because once again, if they get vision of a very small area around the control ward, that could still give away information about bushes with your green ward, even if the green ward's disabled. It doesn't say it kicks in after, 0.25 seconds or whatever. All right, you can have 3 of them, which is really nice, which means you can, instead of just 2... Oh, no, never mind. Wait. How many can you have in your inventory? I thought it said you could have... Yes, okay, 3 in your inventory. Okay, so you can have 3 instead of 2 in your inventory, which means you can carry around a lot more of these and control vision a lot easier without having to go back to your base to get more. So this is going to be really, really good for top-end supports, just people that watch my videos, hopefully, and understand the power of pink wards and just constantly buy them whenever you go back to the shop. So I think this will be good that you can have more of them. Because if you have to devote an entire slot in your inventory to having these wards, which you do most of the game, it would be really nice if you could have at least a few of them, so you don't have to constantly go back and refill in the shop. Okay, wards disabled by control wards still grant vision of their attackers while being killed. So this is a big deal. So if people attack your green ward, then you get to see them. And once again, I don't know if you just see that champion or if you get to see a little bit around that champion, because you could actually bait people with this in interesting ways by attacking it, just walking up into the bush as the support and attacking it like just you, nobody else, and then your jungler is like sitting right next to you and they don't see the jungler and they come in and try to fight you when you're attacking it. Then you just baited them and you can go in and kill them potentially. Or if it gives a small vision around where you are when you're attacking it, then it's kind of defeating the whole purpose of it. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be nice for Baron fights and things if it shuts it off immediately so people don't have to stop what they're doing to attack it. It's just going to shut off all the wards. So, you know, if the enemy drops like 3 wards right when you're about to kill Baron, you don't have to kill all those wards. They're going to be shut off by the control ward. Okay. So let's talk about itemization really quick. So they're changing flat penetration. So the best way to think about this, and there's like a crazy formula for lethality. You can look it up, figure it out online. But okay, I'm just reading it right now. I mean, the basic gist of it that you need to understand, just forget all the math and stuff like that, unless you just really want to go into it. Flat armor penetration, which is now called lethality, is much, much worse earlier in the game. So let's say level 8 and less. It starts to break even around levels 8 to 12, and it becomes more powerful later in the game. So levels 13 to 18, it's more powerful. So that means that champions that used to have much earlier power spikes that could get really early penetration. So I'm looking at Jhin, I'm looking at MF, Lucian, all of these things that really relied heavily upon early penetration are all getting nerfed pretty hard with this shift to lethality. So, and that includes assassins. So assassins that would build things like, you know, that whatever, that Drakthar sword or Ghostblade or things like that, they're all going to get a nerf to their damage. This is another reason that I think Fizz is going to be super strong, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Some of these other AP assassins, because the AD assassins are getting an indirect nerf because of this lethality changes. So that means Kha'Zix, Rengar, Talon, things like that are all getting their damage lowered before level 8. That's what you need to understand here. Now, I don't know exactly how much it's lowered, but I think it's pretty dang significant, especially levels like 1 to 5 in the lane before you get level 6. So I think it's going to be a pretty big deal. Okay, yeah, so you get 40% flat, and then the other 60%, you get overtime. So it's kind of complicated, but the bottom line is worse early game, a little bit better later in the game. Okay, serrated Dirk. Gives you some movement speed out of combat. Doesn't give you flat armor pin. Okay, so basically the same thing, just nerfed a little bit. Alright, Edge of Night, very interesting. So it gives you a spell shield that blocks the next enemy ability. You don't get it instantly, though. It's 1.5 seconds, so you can't outplay people by activating it. It's not like a Nocturne shield. You have to set it up and then run in, and you don't have control over what you're blocking then. So someone could, I don't know, do anything to pop that shield. So it's useful, but it's also only 60 damage, which I feel like is really, really low for a 3,100 gold item. So, and the magic resist is pretty low. I don't know if people are going to get this. This is really, really expensive. I mean, this is getting close to, I think, close to a price of like a Bloodthirster or whatever people are buying. I don't follow AD carry that much, but I just feel like there's probably better options out there most of the time. So this is okay. I guess if you're trying to assassinate someone that has a really hard all-in stun, so let's say you're going in as Talon against a Lissandra, you could use this, and if the Lissandra just tries to pop an ult on you without throwing a Q first, then this could really screw her up. So, you know, against champions like that, it could be really powerful. Or Talon against Zed, who doesn't have a lot of ways to break your bubble, and he tries to ult you, it would block it. I suppose you could use this against Fizz, too. I'm not sure if it would block the Shark after it's already been applied to you, or whether you have to have it already channeled before it applies. And I assume it'll have some kind of graphic as well, so people will know if you've activated this, if they're looking for it. Okay, this thing, this is, once again, this is super interesting. They lower the damage a lot on it. So it's only 65 now, so that's a really big hit to the damage. Gives you more movement speed out of combat, so it no longer gives you movement speed in combat. Lethality. Okay, if you go unseen, so if you walk into a bush or something, then your next basic attack deals a lot of damage. This could be really powerful, especially for laners in bot lane, or maybe even top lane, where you can just consistently walk in and out of bushes all the time, especially if you put a control ward in your lane bush, and you get this item, maybe rush this item. I don't know if it would be rushable. Its damage is so low. But either way, it's an option. And then, so you walk into a bush, you hang out for 1 second, then as soon as you come back out, you're going to deal, you know, what's its base? 15? I don't know if the lethality starts. I don't know. So let's say that you have 15. That would be 80 true damage on your next hit, which would be good. Now, it might only be 40% of this 15, so it'd be like, what, 7? So what, 75 true damage on your next hit. That's still pretty good if you're rolling in and out of bushes. If that, if Ivern ever becomes super popular, this could be really good in team fights, potentially. Now, the Blackout is very interesting because if you run... I'm not sure. It says disable wards after being spotted. So how long do they spot you? Like, let's say you walk over a green ward, how long do they spot you for? And does that mean that it... Okay, so let's say that you walk over a green ward in the top of the river. Let's say they spot you for half a second, then it goes black. Does that make all other wards that you walk by go black? Or does that happen for each ward? So does each ward that you walk by reveal you for half a second and then it goes black for 8 seconds? So I don't know if it disables... if this is a buff on the champion that disables all wards for 8 seconds, or if this is a debuff on the ward that disables the ward for 8 seconds after it spots you. And I don't know, like, what spot means. Or does that mean it actually sees you for some length of time, or does that mean when it would normally spot you that it doesn't see you and gets disabled for 8 seconds? That's a really big deal, because good players will see you in that half a second or whatever when you're there. Another thing is if it goes dark for that long, they're going to know somebody's there, right? They're going to say, okay, my river that's warded just went completely dark. So that means that, you know, somebody's there. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think people will use this. It's okay. This is bad now. You no longer have the flat. You get the extra movement speed, but you don't get... you don't get 40% attack speed. And you don't get the 20% movement speed. I guess you do get the movement speed in combat, but you don't get the attack speed. So you're basically losing 40% attack speed on this item, which is why most people got it in the first place, to get that that boost in attack speed. I mean, they did knock down the price a little bit, 2,900, but I think they just nerfed this out of contention. Maw Malmortia, so it doesn't even have lethality on it at all. So there's no penetration on it, so you can't get the early game Dirk to get into it. This is just really bad, I feel like. 3,200. Yeah, and just, you get lifeline. It doesn't have penetration. This just feels really, really bad. This feels really bad. I don't think a lot of people are going to get this anymore. So that's really good for AP. Once again, that's really good for Fizz, because if you force someone to get this and it's a terrible item, that's already kind of a win. So once again, this is helping out AP champions. Living Jungle, we're going to have to just see how the plants work. I think that's a cool concept. A lot of people are really hating on these plants, but a lot of people are saying, oh, it's terrible, give us back our smite buffs and things like that. But I think it's cool. I think it's fine. Remember, everybody doesn't get the smite buff. Everybody gets the plants. So it's going to affect... It's going to hurt some champions, sure, but no specific jungler on either team is getting a benefit out of this. I think the red ones are going to make for some cool plays, some really cool escapes in the right situations, especially around this dragon pit. I think it'll be really sweet. It'll be fun to see those plays. The reveal is a little weird. I guess it's okay if you know where they might ward and you just want to spot it and not have to use your sweeper. It's kind of weird. The green, I think, could potentially be overpowered. not for the junglers, but for the laners. So if you can gain control of, you know, this area, like push your lane in, whenever you go ward, you can just kill this green thing and just heal back up to full, especially if you're a champion that doesn't have a natural heal. So I think that could be really good for laners potentially. Or if a fight just breaks out in the river and you're the first one that gets these fruit. Like, I think the fruit, if anything, has the potential to be overpowered. It's this green fruit, because it heals for a lot. They have huge cooldowns, but they're all really inconsistent. So it's going to be super hard for junglers and other people to keep up with if they want to try to control these things. I guess the only thing you would really want to control is maybe the honey fruit. But that's like something that you want to use in the heat of the moment, usually. So, I don't know. It's 3.5% of your max health, which is pretty good. I don't know. My initial thing is they're not going to be that impactful, except for the blast cone when you're trying to escape. I think that'll be cool. This other stuff, I don't know. This doesn't reveal invisible either. I mean, I guess you could use it. Does it reveal? It just reveals wards and champions. I'm not sure if it does camouflage champions or not, but that I don't think they're going to be that impactful. We'll see, except for blast cone to make really cool plays sometimes. Okay, smite. I'm just going to skip a lot of this jungle stuff, frankly. There's just so many changes to everything, and I never jungle, so I don't really know everything that this is going to impact. I feel like the overall gist of it is it's going to be harder to jungle because you don't have those smite buffs, and so this is going to help junglers that can clear really fast and are really powerful, and it's going to hurt junglers that relied very heavily on these smite buffs to try to clear things. It's also going to make jungle paths more predictable because the red buff, I believe, gets an armor debuff, and the blue one gets a magic debuff. So magic users are almost always going to want to start blue buff, and AD champions are almost always going to start red buff. So it's going to make it a lot more predictable where certain champions will start, which can impact the effectiveness of various invades and various early game strategies that different teams will use. I think this will be more important for pro play, but it could impact especially higher level solo queue play as well. So I think it's adding predictability, and it's going to make it difficult for some champions to clear a lot faster. But it could make some champions that have kind of fallen out of the meta that clear really fast, that are just getting outshined, a lot more viable. So Shyvana, Udyr, things like that could become a lot better. I don't know if Udyr will ever be like top class. He's pretty good. Shyvana, though, she's really tanky. She's very good against assassins. She's really good at invades, and she's really good at clearing camps. So she might actually be able to make a comeback. We'll see. Rift Herald, not going to matter. It's a terrible buff anyways. I don't think it's going to matter that much. Elder Dragon, I didn't even realize that it's harder to kill when you have more dragons, which is so counterintuitive. But they are giving it 2.5 minutes, which is thank you. Because right now it's just so stupid. Like, by the time you go back to your base and buy items, if you kill it and you try to push into their base and fight them, they're just going to wait. You don't have the pushing power of Baron, and so it's an almost worthless buff. Like, it's good, but a lot of times it's just not worth the risk because it just falls off too quickly. So now it's 2.5 minutes is going to help out a lot. I'm not really sure what to make of these minions. Because towers still deal a percentage of their health. So, buffing the HP on melee minions, it's not going to help them tank towers anymore. Like, I thought this might help lanes push, and that would really help things out like ZZ Rot Portal. It could help push and take towers a lot faster with neutral minions, but my thought process is that it's not going to happen because they still deal like certain percentage damage, from what I understand, to turrets. Now, they got rid of that stupid laser on the turrets, which is good. And they just took it back to just normal tower shots. That was just so abusable how people could just go in and out and take almost no damage from those lasers. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure how this is going to affect turrets overall. I feel like if anything, it's going to make it easier to take turrets, potentially, because the melee minions are maybe stronger and the range minions are going to do more damage. Yeah, they get extra attack damage. Now, that really could impact how fast towers go down. So, overall, I think this is going to make minions push better and take towers down faster, so champions that play well in that meta will get a buff. Now they are just nerfing the daylights out of Aegis. No one's going to get this item anymore. It's complete garbage. They took away the magic resist buff. It's awful. They took away the magic resist buff on Iron Lock of the Iron Solari. I mean, plus 35 per level is pretty dang huge. I mean, that's like a 400 shield. It's obviously really, really nice, but it doesn't give you cooldown reduction. Its stats are just total garbage, like complete garbage. It doesn't give you any health. It doesn't give you any CDR. It gives you some magic resistant armor, but it's complete garbage. Like, you're paying like 1,500 gold for this or something. Maybe not that much, but you're paying a lot of gold for this passive. I mean, what, 30 armor is 600 gold probably. 60 magic resist is like, well, I guess 60 magic resist is like 1350 plus 600, so that's 1950. Okay, you know, maybe you are only paying 250 gold for the passive, but it just, I don't know, it feels really lackluster. Maybe I'm being too hard on it. I feel like it's just not nearly as gold efficient as it used to be before. Which is good. I mean, I think it's healthy for the game because everybody had to rush this, just about. This is going to make the decision to go for ZZ Rot a lot easier with a lot of champions, I think. Banner of Command, they took away the ability power on it, and they gave it armor. I guess you go Banner and they give it cooldown reduction. So I guess you go Banner if you want that little bit of extra push power instead of the shield. But if you're going down this road, I think just go for the shield. I mean, that is a super powerful shield. At level 10, right? That's like 400 damage block. And it lasts for 2.5 seconds now. And it's on a 60-second cooldown. So... I mean, it can be good. It can be good. I mean, if you're like, if everyone's level 15, that's like a 500 damage shield, which is obviously massive. I don't know. Jury's out. My initial thought is that it's bad, but maybe I'm mistaken. We'll see. I think situations where they have a lot of pretty predictable damage and they're going to do team fight stuff, like they have a cannon ult coming in or a fiddlesticks coming in, which is something that does massive AoE damage that's pretty predictable, where the shield's going to help and you're going to have time to react. I think that's going to be really good. Potentially. So it's not going to give you the magic resist aura, but it is going to give you the shield. I'm not sure how that works out mathematically, what would reduce more damage, but overall, it's okay. I think you're going to see a lot less of it. Now, this is a complete, like, kick in the pants here. This is awful. They are just completely gutting. I think they're gutting Chalice of Harmony. Because, okay, so here's the deal. Chalice of Harmony, why it was really good, is I think it gave a base, like, 50% mana regen. 50% base mana regen. And its passive, your mana on champions that would get it, like Sona, would almost always be lower than your health, and so you would get a bonus 100% mana regen. So the net total would be you'd get 150% mana regen, which is pretty good. Especially on Mikhail's, if you look at this. So they lowered the base mana regen to 100%, and they knocked off this extra 100% mana regen. So you're basically losing 150% mana regen. Like, you used to get 250%, and now you're only getting 100%. That's enormous. That's so bad. It's so bad. Like, because the whole reason you would get this is you just need a lot of mana, and it's a really cheap item that would just give you a ton of mana. Now it doesn't do that. I mean, who cares if you get health percent regen? Like, it doesn't matter. A lot of the champions that really need that mana, health is not a problem. Like, they have heals. Like, they have, Sona has heals, Nami has heals. It's not about regenerating your health. That's fine. You need the mana. So, that feels really, really bad. This looks okay. I mean, 2100. It does give 400 health, which is really good. I mean, that is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 900 gold in health. Base mana regen's a bit low. It's okay. Cooldown reduction's okay. Heal and shield power, 10% is okay. The active is obviously really good with 120-second cooldown, so heal allies for 130 plus 20 for the target's current level. So around level 10, it's going to be 330 health, which is huge. So, I mean, and 250 true damage to minions and 10% of the health to enemy champions, which if they have 2,000 health, you know, around level 10 or whatever, that's going to be 200 true damage, which is something like 400 normal damage if you think about MR and armor and how all that works. So it's basically like a spell that deals 400 damage to everybody and heals your allies for 330. So that's like, and the heal also helps them get mitigate, like, so when you heal somebody, then for them to deal that much damage back to you, they have to cut through your armor and MR to get that back. So if you heal somebody for 300, that's a lot more than it seems, because, you know, if they're getting 50% damage reduction from AD, you have to do 600 AD damage to deal that 300 damage that was healed, if that makes sense. So heals are a lot stronger than people think. So a 330 heal is massive. That's like a Soraka ult, basically. And probably even more. So, I mean, you're getting, like, effectively something like 1,000 HP swing off of this per champion. So, I mean, it's absurdly powerful. So, like, what I'm thinking in my mind is, why would you ever get Locket when you can get Redemption? I mean, you get a shield here, but with that one you get a heal, which is not quite as much as the shield, but it's getting close, and true damage, and it has CDR on it, and it has health, and it has the extra healing bonus, which, by the way, also applies to this, in addition to your other heals and shields. And it gives you similar, like, mana regeneration. There's just almost no reason you would ever go for Locket when you could go for Redemption. I think. I don't know. We'll see. But Redemption's really good. Ardent Sensor, there's going to be a buff on this. So the shield power is not awesome. They are reducing the cost. So they're lowering the shield healing, whatever. It's a big deal, though. That's a third lower. I think on the PBR, it had said that it was going to go to 20% instead of 10%. Or was that the Mikhail's? It might have been Mikhail's, which we'll look at here in a second. Yeah, they took that away, so that's not a Mikhail's, which got a huge nerf. But it gives you 20% attack speed instead of 15%, which is really good. You only get 20 magic damage on hit instead of 30, but it heals you for 20 health per hit. So if you put this, if you shield your AD carry, they're going to be healing for 20 health per hit. Which once again, because the way health interacts with armor and magic resist is basically like negating 40 damage back if you heal 20 health. So that's a really big deal. And remember, this is on hit. So Hurricane on Jinx or on Caitlyn procs this on every single person hit. So not only is it going to do 20 damage, it's going to heal them for 60 health every time they shoot something with Hurricane. If there's 3 people around, of course, in a team fight. So, oh my god, that's so much. So like an AD carry, you know, what's a normal, like a good amount of lifesteal? If you're like, man, that person has a lot of lifesteal, like 20%? So let's say that an AD carry, and lifesteal doesn't apply to on hit. It only applies to the base attack on a Hurricane. So let's say if they hit somebody, even if they crit them for, I don't know, 800 damage or something like that. 20% of 800 is, of course I picked a tough number. I don't know what that is. 80? No. 160? I guess 160. So if you hit them with a Hurricane shot, it would be 60. So I guess, you know, I guess it's better. I guess the Bloodthirster is better. That point kind of backfired on me there. But what I'm saying is it's good. It's good. It heals a lot of health. That's the main point that I want to get across here, is it heals a lot of health. So, you know, anyways, I think it's good. I think it's a buff. So Ardent Sensor is good. I just don't know if you would get Ardent Sensor over Redemption on almost anything. Redemption just seems extremely powerful on everybody. So I think they're going to nerf this item. Now, it's only a target within 550 range. But it's still pretty good. Okay, Mikhail's totally gutted. Not even usable anymore, I don't think. So, on the surface, it looks good. So it cleanses stuff. It's on a lower cooldown. And whoever you cleanse gets 40% movement speed for 20, for 2 seconds. So it gets them out of it. But if you notice, it doesn't heal anymore. It doesn't give any kind of heal. And they just completely gutted 150% of the mana regen off of it, which is why a lot of champions get it in the first place, like Sona and Nami, because they need a lot of mana regen. So, awful. It's awful, because it doesn't have the heal. Some people might still use it against, like, Ashe or really heavy CC compositions, but this is looking really, really bad. I think not having a heal on it is a very, very big mistake. Unless the heal is still there, and it's just not showing it here, but I feel like it looks like they took it away, and that's going to be awful. Okay, let's talk about Knight's Vow really quick, some of these new items. Okay, so Knight's Vow, pretty good. There's some ambiguity here, so... Okay, so you designate someone as your champion, just like that other item that no one uses anymore, the crit item. If your partner's nearby, gain plus 15% movement speed when moving towards them. So not just in general, but towards them. I think this changed from the PvE. And plus 40 additional armor. Okay, so the way this is worded, I'm not sure if you get plus 40 additional armor if you're moving towards them, or if it's just all the time when you're near them. If it's all the time when you're near them, it's pretty good because it's 60 armor and 400 health, which is quite a lot of mitigation. Health regen doesn't matter as much. I assume it's probably when you're near them, but it's phrased in such a way where it's ambiguous. I don't know if it's if you're running towards them or just all the time. Okay, so I assume the armor's all the time and the movement speed's only when you're running towards them, which is okay. If your partner's nearby, you heal for 12% of the damage your partner deals to champions, and you redirect 12% of the damage your partner takes from champions to you as true damage. Healing and damage reduction are reduced by 50% if you're ranged. Okay, so it's only 6% of your range. So I was thinking this might be okay on Janna, but nah, I don't know. It's okay. It's got some decent tank stats, but it doesn't have CDR on it. The speed is only when you're moving towards them. If you're one of these tanky type of champions like Alistar, you're going to be in front of them a lot of the time. It's okay. I don't think it's going to be groundbreaking enough to squeeze out some of the other items. I mean, people will try it out. It might end up being good. We'll see. Now, getting 2 shields is really nice. If you finish this, you get it on yourself and your ally, which is really good. Extra regen on Eye of Equinox is kind of whatever. It's okay. Eye of the Oasis. Health regen doesn't matter as much later in the game. Lowering the cost is good. Zeke's still bad. It just relies on very careful timing with your AD carry, which you just can't count on most of the time. This is actually decent, because Talisman is a pretty good item now if you get it on someone like Janna. And 100 gold less is good. Frozen Heart, okay, probably still bad. Alright, Alistar, I'm going to have to try him out. I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of people are seeing his praises and just saying he's like the next like OP support. Maybe. His Triumphant Roar is pretty conditional. Like, you can't gain stacks for 3 seconds after it procs. And you have to, like, crowd control 7 people before you get anything. I mean, yeah, you get some Triumphant Roar in the lane. But in the lane, it's not going to be that much. I mean, let's say that you're level 5. You're going to, heal him for, what, 35 plus 13 is, what, 48? I mean, that's okay. It's conveniently 7, so it's not 6. If it was 6, you would get that heal every single wave that comes in. But now that it's 7, you only get it on cannon minion waves or on the next wave. So it means it's probably realistically only going to proc maybe once per minute or so. But you don't have to use mana for it like you had to use with the old Triumphant Roar, so it's okay. It's okay. This is a really big deal. Losing that half a second stun on knockups is a big deal. I know a lot of people are downplaying it that I've seen. They're like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's only half a second. I'm here to tell you something like that is a very big deal, because they did this to Zyra back in Season 3. And because her roots, when they knocked you up, it used to also stun you for a half a second when you landed. It's a huge deal. It's going to make it harder to do your flash Q and then knock them back with a W. You can still do it, but the timing window is a lot lower on that. I think you can still do it. The jury's out, but I think you can still do it, but the timing window is a lot lower. I mean, you're losing a lot of your CC. A Q is a cornerstone of your engage. Like, so if you WQ and hit 3 people, that's a third less time that they're going to be disabled. It's a really big deal because that's what he does. Now they're trying to make up for it by doing this trample thing, right? So he tramples the ground for 5 seconds, damaging nearby enemies every half a second. But the total damage, if they sit in it for the entire 5 seconds, is not that high. It's like, it's okay. It's okay. If it hits at least one enemy, you get 1 trample stack. This is not a trample stack per enemy hit. That's very, very important to understand. So if you hit 3 people with your trample, you do not get 3 stacks. You get 1 stack. Only 1 stack when someone's hit. At least 1 champion is hit. So that means you have to full channel this thing to get 1 1-second stun on an auto attack. Or you have to channel it multiple times if the stack sticks around indefinitely. And it's on a huge cooldown, so you're not going to get multiple shots at this because you're still going to have to max your W and your Q, so your E is only going to be level 1, so it's 16. So you can do this. So look at this. I know that people are saying, oh my god, he has an extra stun. But think about this carefully, right? So you're talking about an extra 1-second stun that is extremely conditional. Like you have to hit all 5 stacks on somebody, like, to get this. And it's on a 16-second cooldown. Whereas someone like Nautilus, 1 auto attack, boom. It's the same thing all the time, and you can hit multiple champions with it. You can auto attack 5 different people in a team fight consecutively and stun them all for 0.75 seconds, which is very close to 1 second. So he has to jump through a lot of hoops to do something that Nautilus has as just a passive. They just normally has. Nautilus's E also does way more damage than this, basically instantly, and slows them. Like, you don't have to wait, and it's on a 5-second cooldown instead of a 16-second cooldown. So a lot of people are praising this ability, saying, oh my god, this is so crazy, Alistar is going to be OP. I'm not entirely convinced yet. I'm not entirely convinced that this makes up for this, because this is part of a combo and hits multiple people a lot of times if you're doing it right in a team fight. This is something that's very conditional, takes 5 seconds to warm up. Well, I guess 2.5 seconds to warm up, right? Because you get a stack every time, every 0.5 seconds. So every 2.5 seconds, it can warm up. I guess, well, let me see. So I'm trying to think if it's possible that whenever you do the trample, you hit somebody exactly at 2.5 seconds, stun them, and then you get another proc off of the next, 2.5 seconds. If you get 2 stuns out of it, maybe that's worth it, but that's so hard to do. It means you're going to have to, like, hit people for all of it, hit one person, and then I guess it says you can do it to the same person, so maybe it's better than I think it is. So let's say that you trample, you go in, EQ combo, knock somebody up for a second, activate this. You're going to get your stun proc, about 1.5 seconds after they land. You hit them, stuns them again for a second, and then you follow them with the rest of it, and then you can stun them again at the very end. So you get 2 stuns out of it. So that's pretty good. Jury's out. We'll see. We'll see. I'll have to play test him and see, but I don't think he's nearly as groundbreaking as people say he is. Although, just due to the nature of his kit, he's still going to be really strong. He's still in my S class. I'm just not sure if he's like, the second coming, like people say he is. Okay. Twitch, still going to be largely irrelevant. He can be spotted with control wards. It just still completely guts him. So yeah, I don't know why they just didn't straight up give him stealth. Or whatever, invisibility instead of this. Because now you can still just completely hose him with control wards. They fixed some stuff here. Ivern's still going to be bad, I think. Kled, he's a little bit tankier because he gets his guy back, but he does less damage. And then the last, I think this is close to the last section. So Abyssal champions take 10% more magic damage. This is better later in the game, but it's got a huge nerf early in the game. Getting that extra -20 penetration was very, very good. So a lot of champions would get this AP on AP. So if you're a champion that really wants to not rush this item, AP on AP, Fizz, who wants to rush Lichbane, this is a huge buff for you. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good for Fizz. It's kind of neutral for everybody else. I think people just aren't going to buy this item as much. Maybe a support will get it like near the end of the game or something if they have a lot of extra gold, but I think it's going to be great. Pretty big nerfs to Proto Belt. So they're lowering its additional damage per bolt by a third, and they're lowering its ratio by about a third. So it's a really big deal. That's a lot of damage off this Proto Belt. So is it still going to be good? Probably. Yeah, but it's a nerf. So this is going to nerf anyone that gets a lot of Proto Belts early. So Rumble, Cannon, things like that. It's going to open up. So these are kind of bully early champions that get this a lot of time. So once again, it opens it up for Fizz. Because he doesn't usually get that, I don't think. Masteries, not a lot to see here. I'm not going to go through these in huge depth. They're okay. I'm not really sure. Fervor, probably a buff. Because now it's attack damage instead of bonus damage. Which means it would apply to abilities as well. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a lot in Ferocity, Cunning. Now this one can actually be pretty good. Stepping in and out of the bush causes you to deal 3% of your target's current health as bonus magic damage. So this would be good for ranged supports in the bottom lane that can just constantly step in and out of the bush and deal an extra little bit of damage on an auto attack. That could be good. That's just a nerf. Lethality. I don't know what the other options are at tier 2. I forgot what they are, but I don't think this is going to be a huge deal. It might be okay. 10% bonus armor and magic resist when damaged by an enemy champion. I think that's going to be pretty weak. It might be okay. It just depends on what else it's competing with there. Now the Keystone, they're taking out Strength of the Ages, so this is going to hurt tanks quite a lot because Strength was that free 300 damage. I explained it so many times in my videos why that's really strong. So it's going to hurt tanks. It's going to help indirectly help champions like Janna to get wind speakers because they aren't touching wind speakers. So just keep in mind, anytime they nerf other things or other champions or whatever, and they don't nerf things that are already powerful, those things are just going to get even more powerful a lot of the time. Okay, so gain a shield for 7%, plus 7% for each enemy hit. So if you Alistar and hit 2 people, you get a 14% shield of your maximum health for 4 seconds after hitting an enemy champion. Okay, so that's 14% shield. So that's about a, it's like a 280 shield at 2,000 health in the mid game. So that's okay. It's on a 30-second cooldown. If you hit a bunch of champions with CC, it could be good. Remember, you have to hit them all at once, though, because it goes on a cooldown as soon as you hit one person with it, so it's okay if you're the one doing the engaging, not getting engaged on. League Client, I think this training mode is going to be really awesome. It's going to let you practice a lot of skill shots and flashes and things like that. From what I understand, it's going to be super cool if you're really trying to get a lot better at the game. It's going to have replays. I just use OBS anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. I can always see my own replays, but this could be cool for some people that don't use outside replay software. Okay, ranked updates. We'll talk about that more in depth later on once they come up with more details about it, but I think that's fine. Yeah, I don't know about all these buffs. We'll see. None of these apply to champions that I play a lot, so I'm not going to be as sure about like how that's going to impact the gameplay. Okay, so I realize that's probably been about an hour or so. How long has this been anyways? Let me see. Hour and 15 minutes. So I realize it took a long time. Well, let me just sum up here really quick sort of what the ultimate takeaway is going to be here. So I'm going to have a timestamp, and I'll tell you in the description as well for people that they just want to jump to this and see like what's the bottom line, the TLDR of this. So the big takeaways are no Locket means no MR Aura. So that's going to buff all AP champions because Locket was something almost every support had. So you're basically getting in team fights an extra 20% damage on everybody because nobody has that 20 magic buff anymore. They nerfed early game armor pen. So a lot of early game champions like Jin, like MF, like Kha'Zix, Rengar, is all these champions that would get this early game armor pen, which is so many different champions. They all got a huge nerf. Nerf to Hex Drinker, like I said, Maud Malmortius looks like it's awful now. So a lot of people are not going to get Hex Drinker anymore. They might get that Shroud of Darkness thing or whatever that has the MR on it, which you're probably not going to see as many Hex Drinkers. Once again, this is very good for AP champions. Nerf to Abyssal Scepter. A lot of people aren't going to get it anymore. Very good for AP champions. Nerf to Proto Belt is a nerf to Cannon, Rumble, and other champions that like to get it. A lot of early game bullies there, so it's really good for kind of champions that have a rough laning phase. So Fizz, things like that. Miguel's Crucible no longer heals and gives far less mana regenerations. This is just a real huge, like astronomical kick in the pants for Sona and Nami in particular, and any other support that really needs mana regeneration that's a mana hog. So Karma, maybe not as much Karma, but definitely Sona, definitely Nami. Okay, so my prediction. What does all this mean? AP Assassins. That's where it's going to be at. Fizz in particular is going to... He's going to be so good, I think. That's my huge breakout call. I think Fizz is going to take over. There's going to potentially be a lot of bans on Fizz. He's just going to be really good. Now, he is a pretty high skill cap champion, and this made him even more high skill cap, right? Because you have to use that auto attack reset. You have to wait until they bleed twice before you use that reset in order to get the hit. And you benefit if you throw the fish even further now. So it definitely raised the ceiling on his skill cap by quite a bit. But if people are decent with Fizz and they practice him a lot, he's going to be really powerful. And they nerfed a lot of these other early game magic items like the Proto Belt. So that means that champions that want to go Lich Bane are going to be buffed indirectly. This also could help champions out like TF, but TF's weak to Assassins. So we'll see. But I think Fizz is definitely a major beneficiary of this. Katarina can also be a huge rise. Extremely high skill cap on her. Like, it looks like it's going to be through the roof skill cap. So she might be the new hardest champion to play in the game correctly. So we'll see. But I think she can be really good. Fizz is also going to be really hard to play. And LeBlanc, maybe. I think she's the easiest of the three to play. And I don't think they changed her damage output that much. I'm not 100%, but because of all these other item changes, because she didn't really want to get an Abyssal early, she doesn't get a Proto Belt early, I don't think. And because there's this nerf to Hex Drinker and no Locket and stuff like that, I think all of this means that it's going to help LeBlanc out indirectly, even if the buffs themselves didn't change that much. Okay, so vision changes. Like I said, it's just going to depend on whether or not green wards are instantly disabled or whether or not they get to look for just like that extra half a second there before they get fizzled out. So if it immediately blocks green wards, it's super strong. If you gain temporary vision, it's a little bit weaker, but the overall story is unsafe champions are going to be a lot more unsafe. So anything that doesn't have an escape, anything that's super squishy, those AP supports, that type of stuff, is really going to get... gonna feel it with this change because it's gonna be so dangerous to try to check bushes and to try to keep vision because those control wards are just gonna shut it down so hard, and there's gonna be more assassins running around. It's not gonna be a good time if you like Zyra or Nami or you know, things like that. You're gonna have a hard time in this patch of the preseason. Okay, Mikhail's nerf, massive. I mean, it almost makes Sona and Nami not viable anymore, I think. It's really close. I mean, I know that's an extreme statement, but it's really bad. It's really bad for them to lose 150% mana regen. It's going to be really rough. Okay, so jungle nerfs. I've heard a lot of people saying the jungle is nerfed because all of the champions are going to be a lot stronger, or all of the jungle monsters, rather, are going to be a lot stronger. So, I don't know. We'll just have to see how that works. If we go back to people having to have these really heavy farm junglers to get through the jungle in a reasonable amount of time, so like Shyvana, Udyr, champions like that, I think Shyvana could make a pretty big comeback. Then that means that assassins are going to get to do their thing in lane a lot more because these early game champions that are going to have a hard time clearing quickly are going to fall off a lot. So I don't really know who those would be. Like Graves, Nidalee, I don't know. I mean, I don't. The jungle changes are the thing that I'm the least sure about because I don't spend a lot of time in the jungle, and it's like it's its own game there, and they make so many changes every season. It's difficult to predict. Okay, so what are my light predictions for each lane, including support at the end? Okay, so mid lane, more Fizz, LeBlanc, Katarina, probably Talon, and possibly Victor. I think Victor's pretty good against assassins. He's very safe. He can get a shield on himself. He might be able to build like a GLP or something proto belt. I'm not really sure. Aurelion Soul could be really good because he naturally builds very tanky and he zones out a lot of these assassins too, so he could rise a lot. It's kind of tankier mids. So the assassins and tankier mids to counter those assassins will be what comes up. Subsequently, less squishy things that are really easy to assassinate, like Syndra. Syndra might still be powerful just because her numbers are really high, but if Fizz is very popular, Fizz just completely hoses Syndra, so I think you're going to see less Syndra, less Cassiopeia, things like that. Maybe Orianna will be better too because she has a shield and kind of gets tanky stuff also. Top lane, I think these kind of mid-game tanks that are decent against assassins will probably rise. So like Nautilus, Mundo, maybe Tahm Kench or Gnar. There's things that could potentially counter and have a lot of CC for assassins. Could be really good. In the jungle, I think tanks with good clear, so like Lee, Nunu, Zac, Elise, things like that, and will be really strong. Elise might be a very good beneficiary for all the magical reasons that I described up here. All the indirect buffs to magic users. Elise could be really, really good, and she has good clear and she has good ganks, I think so. I think Elise, if I had to predict a top jungler, it might be Nunu or Elise. We'll see. Shyvana could be very good, as I said, if the jungle is very, very hard and people need to clear it. So more squishy type of low CC champions like Graves, Kindred, Nidalee, they're going to have a really hard time. Also, there's going to be a lot more Ezreal and Assassins, which means there's not going to be as much like sustained damage for tank breaking. Does this mean that tanks like Shyvana that might normally melt to something like a Jinx or a Vayne could potentially be a lot more viable because people may not play those champions as much because they're not nearly as safe as something like Easy. So impact on 80 carries, I think you're going to see a lot more Easy because he's very safe against assassins, well, about as safe as you can get against assassins. The fact that he builds Frozen Fist also gives him a bit of extra armor. And he just gets a lot of things that make him very good. Like, he's easy to run, he can kite them, he can get a Blade of the Ruined King to gain some more health and get away from them, so I think Easy is going to come back into style and be very powerful. I think Kate will stick around because of her traps. That'll help out a lot, and she can get away with her net, and she has a huge range, so she's pretty safe. So I think that Kate and Easy will probably still be very, very strong. Corki might come back in because he deals a lot of magic damage, and for all the reasons I described before, there's not as many lockets, not as many magic resists that people are probably going to buy. So that's going to make Corki a lot better. Also, he's... I don't know what that means. I'll have to look that up later. So, you know, more tanks, more CC, more good clear. There's going to be less Jinx, less Jhin, and less MF because they're nerfing all of those early game armor-piercing items in the case of Jhin and MF. Those are all very unsafe champions, and assassins are just going to eat them alive. So I think they're going to fall off to some extent. Okay, so supports, the biggest thing. I don't think a lot's going to change. I just think that the strong are going to get much, much stronger, and kind of the, you know, the B class supports and lower are going to get much, much weaker. So Janna, her power level is going to be through the roof. She's so good against mobile assassins, like that shield, her ultimate, her tornado to disrupt them. The ability to get Ionian boots for more exhausts. Like, Janna is just a nightmare for assassins, and she's going to be extremely good, especially now that you can get... Well, I guess before you would get Locket and things like that, but now you can get Redemption and stuff like that. It's going to be really, really strong. Janna's great. She doesn't need Mikhail. So, champions that had been pretty good against her, most notably Sona, that could kind of outscale her and bully her around in lane. are going to get huge nerfs because they're weak against assassins, first of all, and they really, really need Mikhail's, which just got completely gutted. So I think this is a massive win for Janna. And she scales very well with pretty much all of the things. So Ardent Censer, Redemption, Knight's Vow a little bit less so now that I read that it was, you know, half. So I think that, you know, it'll still be probably a ZZ Rot Rush and then your choice of Redemption or Ardent Censer depending on how it's going. I mean, if Redemption is too over the top powerful, then maybe you go Redemption before ZZ, but I still think ZZ is going to be the rush. She's very fast, so she can get around and ward things really quickly and disable control wards and put up her own control ward. She's just really good at the warding game and unsafe environments because she can get away from just about better than anyone else in the game from really unsafe things. So if she has to go up and ward a bush and it could be really unsafe because there's a control ward, she can throw a tornado first, shield herself. You know, there's a lot of ways that she can work around dangerous situations. Now, she is still good at protecting powerhouse AD carries. So if you have a Janna, you can still play something like a Jinx, a Caitlyn, or maybe even a Jhin. And all of those outscale Ezreal later in the game. So if everyone's picking Ezreal because they really need protection against these assassins, well, Janna can provide enough protection where your AD carry can actually play one of these high-scaling AD carries and just outscale the Ezreal. So that's very powerful. And also the rise in EZ means there's going to be more passive play in lane a lot earlier, so people aren't going to be able to bully you out as much with things like Lucian or Jhin or things like that as much, which is very, very good for Janna because her laning phase is probably her weakest part of the whole game. And so just getting a free pass into the mid game is obviously going to be a very strong thing for Janna. So, I mean, Janna, she's already really strong. You know how I feel about Janna, and she's just going to, like, go into the stratosphere with these changes. She's just going to be so strong. It's absurd. I mean, she's almost going to be ban worthy. If you can't play her, you don't know how to play her, you might want to think about banning Janna. Tahm Kench, great against assassins. He's great with the Knight's Vow. Not only because he's tanky himself, but because of his gray skin. So when he takes damage off of the Knight's Vow, if he doesn't take any, he activates his gray skin. So if he doesn't take damage anymore for a little bit, then he's going to heal a percentage of that back up. So because of his gray skin mechanic, I think that's going to be really, really good with Knight's Vow, especially for trading in lane if you rush it. It's probably going to be a little bit late for a lane item. It's probably going to be a mid-game item, but it's really, really good. He's also, you know, can benefit quite a lot from that Targon's item, so it might be worth it to finish out the health item now because you get those double shields, which are really good. And the rise in EZ, once again, makes for an easier laning phase. So Tahm Kench can historically have some problems in the laning phase. He's much better in the mid game. Get a free pass if they pick EZ. So I think he's going to still be really good. Alistar, jury's out. We'll see. Losing that 5 second or half a second stun on the Q is bad. He's really good versus assassins, though. Very hard to kill. Although it's important to note that he usually has to pop his ult to survive versus assassins, which is not awesome, because that's a really long cooldown. Whereas someone like Tahm Kench can get away and just use his gray skin and not have to, you know, use a very long cooldown. Same thing with Janna. She can shield, tornado, stuff like that, and probably not have to use her cooldown. Although there are situations where she might have to blow her ult. The E seems okay, but we'll see. Alistar's still going to be good. It's just a question of how good. Nautilus, pretty good. So he's great versus assassins. Once again, has peel, engage. Some of his skills might be a little bit slow, and they're champions that are going to become popular might have ways to dodge it. Like Fizz can use his E to get around the... I think that gets around the Nautilus ult. So, and Vayne, who can go invisible and roll away from his ult now, could be a huge problem. So there's more like invisible champions and highly mobile champions that can, you know, play around his ultimate a little bit better than they have in the past. But overall, he's still going to be pretty strong, I think. He's very good with EZ because you can leave the lane and go roam and make a huge impact in mid lane or other places as well. This is going to work very well with the vision shutout too. If it's a lot easier to control the vision with those control wards, then Nautilus is going to thrive in that kind of roaming environment, more so than any other support here probably, with maybe the exception of Alistar. But so he's going to be good. It's maybe not quite as good as he is right now because of the rise of certain champions that are decent against him. Okay, so nerfs and power. Zyra, very, very dangerous champion to play into assassins, and there's going to be assassins everywhere. Also, because it's a lot harder to control vision with those control wards, you're just going to be in a lot more danger constantly. So Zyra can still be very oppressive in lane. It is good that they nerfed a lot of this magic stuff. Once again, in the mid game, they're not going to have Locket. They're not going to have Hex Drinker, probably. You know, all of that stuff. But I don't know. I feel like she's going to fall a lot in power. She's just so dangerous in an assassin meta. It's just not good. Same thing with Sona and Nami. It's a huge problem. Especially because they got a huge hit to Mikhail's. So I just feel like they're super vulnerable as assassins, and various aspects of the game that are changing are going to be really tough for them. So if you're wanting to win a lot in the preseason, I highly recommend just sticking with these 4. I'll do a more thorough, once I play some different supports, I'll do a more thorough test with a bunch of different supports and give you an official tier list later. But my initial assessment before playing any games, just seeing the patch notes, is that the top 4 that I have, the S-Class champs, are all going to be still the best in class, with Janna rising much higher than the rest of them, but Tahm Kench also rising quite a bit. Alistar kind of remains about the same, I think, and Nautilus maybe falls back a little bit in priority, but these 4 are still the best by quite a large margin, I think, an even larger margin because of the nerfs to some of these other things here. So, anyways, thank you very much for watching the video. I know it's been a massively long video. There's massive amounts of changes here. I will put some timestamps in the notes so that you can jump around and see what you're most interested in. But overall, it's a ton of information. I just wanted to give you as much like in-depth insight as I can into each one of these things, so that when you start playing the preseason, you can have a lot of confidence that you know what's going on, and you can make some good early game decisions. In terms of items, I think the priority is going to be ZZ Rock Portal Redemption on most champions, but there might be some that would get Knight's Vow before Redemption, maybe. I just feel like Redemption's the real powerhouse story of the support item changes, but ZZ Rot is still going to be more important for that macro, probably. We'll see, but one of those 2 items will probably be what you rush. No more Locket, and I still think getting Ruby Sightstone is going to be really good because it also lowers the cooldown of Redemption now, and lowers the cooldown of ZZ Rot Portal. So, anyways, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? What do you think will be the best changes, the most powerful champions? Who's going to fall? Who's going to rise? What do you think? And yeah, I'll be coming back with some more detailed and shorter videos with patch notes and just things that I've learned on the climb to Diamond at the end of the season that you can apply during the preseason to help you climb as well. And as well as individual guides. So once we get a bit more visibility on which champions are going to be good and how they're going to be played and the items they're going to use, then I'll make individual guides for things like Janna, Nautilus, Tahm Kench, Alistar, Sona, Zyra, all of these champions. I'll make individual guides. I've just been waiting until kind of this preseason changes so that my guides won't get outdated by the preseason. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next time.